Good morning or afternoon, scrappers. I am Master Mimic, and welcome back to another episode of Roaring D20s, where I sit here and talk about all things D&D related, including that beautiful trailer that just dropped for Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, starring Chris Pine, I almost said Chris Pratt, and Michelle Rodriguez. I'm going to get into my personal thoughts on the trailer real quick, but as you could probably tell by just that, beautiful introduction, that clearly Batty and I are, we are very much excited for this. But I thought that I would, I didn't really just want to do like a, thoughts and feelings for the trailer. I'll probably do a semi-review of the film later down the line when it comes out. Maybe if I'm lucky, I can even get Batty and Balcasaurus to help me with that. Do a nice little Trinity compilation or Trinity collaboration. Jeez, talk, TJ, talk. But yeah, so I thought that I would add just a little bit more meat to this episode because if I'm gonna talk about the new theatrical film, I might as well talk about the ill-fated other film that came out. It's the one that any D&D fan worth their metal knows about, Dungeons & Dragons, released in 2000. A quick disclaimer here, I have not actually seen Dungeons & Dragons 2, Wrath of the Dragon God, or Book of Vile Darkness, so I will not be reviewing, or not even reviewing, I won't be talking about those two. But I do recommend highly checking out Decker's Shado and Cynical Reviews. Both of those guys have done in-depth analysis on all three of the movies. So if you just want to kind of get more out of this than just my beautiful self, head over and check them out. Cynical Reviews even did a review on the Dragonlance animated movie that came out. Starring Lucy Lawless. I think it was Lucy Lawless. That's where you go to get that little extra dose of D&D content. But for now, I'm just going to talk about this new film and the old one. Like I said, I'm not going to go for a kind of a review of the film because, that's not really what I want. That's not really what I like to do on here. I'm just going to kind of just talk about my, personal feelings for it and just kind of go from there. First thing I need to say is, when I first saw Dungeons & Dragons, let's see, I was young, because, Jesus, 22 years ago, jeez, that's a way to make me feel young, you know what I mean? Dungeons & Dragons came out in 2000, and it was directed by Courtney Solomon, and one of the common things that they talk about is the poor guy never actually wanted to direct at all. He was kind of forced into the seat by the studio because they needed this movie to get made and they needed it out now. It's fairly obvious that the whole movie had a lot of problems, but I remember as a kid, I genuinely liked it. Let's see, I was probably about 9, pushing 10 years old when this film came out, and I went to go see it with my dad. Now, my dad doesn't play D&D. He knows about it. He especially knows about my particular hobby towards it. So he was aware of its presence, I guess, when we first went to see it. But I think he was just there because it looked like a dumb fantasy movie based off a game that he heard about back in his younger years. So yeah, obviously, even as a kid, I had no idea what to go in expecting. I wasn't going to go in there going, well, I sure hope they make the thieves act like thieves, and oh my goodness, that dwarf better be the barbarian, or at least the fighter. Ha! I don't know why I sound like that, but whatever. But yeah, so I was actually really, I actually really liked it. I just remember, not only did I like it, but it was like, I fell in love with the monsters, aka I really liked the what I've now realized was a orc in the cavern, the guy with a third eye, even though the prosthetic for it closing completely wasn't quite working, as you could probably tell when you actually see the film. And I really liked the Beholder. I remember just being like, whoa, that thing looks so cool. And it wasn't until later on in high school I actually found what the name of it was. Um, and what's funny is this is all before Lord of the Rings came out, and I suddenly realized what quality fantasy looked like. So, but this was essentially my initial introduction. Like, I won't say introduction to fantasy, but this is kind of what, kind of introduced me in the realm that, of what high fantasy. I guess. Oh shit, I can't talk right now. But what I'm trying to say is that the Dungeons and Dragons, the film, was kind of my showing of, okay, so a party-based adventure film that takes place in a fantasy world. Like, I was already aware of fantasy, but it was the first time to actually see it on the screen, and obviously, like I said, I liked it. I'm not gonna fault myself for it because I was a damn kid. I didn't know what freaking quality was. But yeah, but I remember then I saw it again. I want to say I think I was in like high school at that time, like early high school, like freshman, sophomore. I watched it again because it was on demand. Jesus. Back when, Comcast did on demand and, wasn't freaking drowned out by streaming services. And that time with my brain a bit more developed, now that I have deeply sunk in the love of Lord of the Rings, I had all 3 movies on my shelf, including the extended editions of Fellowship of the Ring and Return of the King. I didn't get Two Towers till a while later, but whatever, that's not what I'm getting at. But so I had a bit more standards, I guess you could say. And wow. I just remember just cringing a lot. Like, this was also the time when I was starting to do more theater stuff, like theater arts. So I kind of understood what bad acting looked like because, I wasn't a great actor at that time. So I was like, what? That's the kind of mistakes that I made. And seeing, especially, was it Marlon? Marlon Wayans? Yeah. Seeing him try so bad to be an effective comic relief was kind of already hurtful enough, but it was kind of like seeing Justin Whalen and Thora Birch. By the way, the only reason I remembered these actors' names is because I have the Wikipedia up right now. I'm looking down at it. Because, again, these characters are so forgettable that I needed a refresher. But, because for the longest time, I wanted to call Justin Whalen's main character, the rogue, I wanted to call him Ripley. His name's Ridley. Ridley Freeborn. Huh. But anyways, so I just remember just being very put down by things. And I mean, there were certain memories, welling up, like seeing Bruce Payne's Damodar, aka the guy with the blue lipstick, using this weird brain parasite to suck information right out of what's her name? What is Marina? Sucking it right out of Marina's head, and it was just like, oh god, oh my god, younger me, what is going on? I know you were a child, but my god, and at this time I actually understood a little bit more of the D&D canon, like. Why is a beholder essentially just being used as a watchdog, essentially? It's like, oh, because we had the Dungeons & Dragons title. We had to throw a D&D monster in there. And yet it's predominantly, like, I think you only see the one dwarf, what's his name? Elwood. Honestly, I think Elwood's probably, like, my favorite character in that movie, just because he at least seemed to understand what his role in the party was, both the actor and the character, so... just kind of ran with it. You got a few elves, and again, then you had that weird Cyclops, or that weird guy with a third eye on his forehead. That, again, now that I am an experienced dungeon master, and I've deeply embraced the lore, I honestly have no idea. Like, even with all the new released races, like turtles and. I'm not even trying saying the bird peoples. I know some people will be able to perfectly say it, but off the top of my head, I'm not going to pronounce it. but there's still nothing that quite resembles that guy. But jeez, it's just it's a little embarrassing right now. Like I feel embarrassed because yeah, again, as a kid, I loved that damn movie. But like everyone says, well, you're a damn kid. What are you gonna expect? But it's just it's like it's kind of like when you look at a photo album and you see like, oh my god, look at little TJ wearing a Donkey Kong 64 T-shirt. I mean, I didn't even own a Nintendo 64. We had a PlayStation in the house. Oh my god, that's blasphemous. But it was yeah. So I remember, but obviously the person I keep putting off because he's the one reason I wanted to talk about the 2000 Dungeons and Dragons movie. Everyone knows exactly what I'm talking about. It is Profion, played by Jeremy Irons, and I actually didn't need the wiki to remember his name because Profion was the only person who was remotely memorable because like I know Nostalgia Critic made his fun, and he keeps bringing up the recurring joke of like, Jeremy Irons was awful, and it's like he seemed like other than Marlon Wayans, who at least seemed like he was trying, Jeremy Irons knew this was awful. He knew the script was just garbage, and he just wanted to have as much fun with it as possible. I mean, you can't get mad at the guy. You just I mean, it's okay. Jeremy Irons is one of those actors that I would love to meet in real life because he just seems like a genuinely nice guy. Like I got frustrated when he wasn't cast as Scar in the Lion King remake, and then I found out that apparently he felt the same way. Like he wasn't too happy with it, and it's like when you root for an actor like that, there's obviously there's something good going on with him, and so when he's clearly just trying to get a paycheck, but damn it, if he's gonna put on this robe, if he's gonna be given these garbage scripts to read, he's going to at least try and get as much out as possible. Just run with it and have so much fun. And yeah, he's way too over the top. Profion comes off as a complete lunatic, but he at least makes the movie so bad it's good. He crosses that threshold because of that performance. Now, if we were to watch Dungeons and Dragons, that's the only reason we would watch it. Is just to see this guy literally he doesn't devour the scenery. He just gorges himself on it. Like the scenery behind him is a delicious buffet from Vegas, and he's just been given the keys to the castle. Just go ahead and have fun, and boy, he is. So, jeez, now getting that all out, it's kind of like seeing where Dungeons and Dragons was. It makes me a little bit more optimistic to see. Excuse me. It is a little bit more fun to see now where it's landed, because now we're gonna go talk about Honor Among Thieves because that's what I really want to talk about. Because this movie, for one thing, it's obviously not taking itself remotely as serious as the 2000 film was. I know people are going to say, what are you talking about taking itself seriously? This movie was clearly just, bonkers. And it's like, yeah, but Dungeons and Dragons came off as kind of like a family film, but it wanted to have that same kind of dark elements, something like you would see in like maybe Neverending Story, for example. I'm not comparing the two. I'm just saying that's the general feeling that I thought they were trying to go for in the 2000 film. Like I said, the scene of what was her Marina getting her thoughts sucked out by Damodar was just I know that was meant to come off as like horrifying and oh my goodness, what's happening to this poor girl, but it unintentionally came off just looking absolutely ridiculous and hilarious. But this film, obviously, just the trailer alone gives you this impression. They're not only just taking it less seriously, but they're addressing the fact that Dungeons and Dragons has definitely come a long way since that 2000 film. Like, I hear a lot of people, like I read a lot of the comments for the trailer, people saying like, "Oh, I don't really know. I've never played D&D. I don't know who these characters are, but hey, it looks fun. I'm gonna go see it." And I just felt like these characters, you don't get it. Like there's probably gonna be elements of the game in there. Like I think the artifact they might have given, like, we stole the wrong thing for the wrong person or something like that. I wonder if that's gonna be the Horn of Orcus? Question mark. But we'll see. I'm not gonna slam. I'm not slamming these people at all. Don't get me wrong. Like I know not everyone is gonna be well versed in Dungeons and Dragons. They're not gonna. They're gonna see this movie and be like, "Oh, this is an adaptation of that popular game." But it's obviously these characters aren't necessarily going to be the same characters from the old film and whatnot. Like that's kind of what I thought was really fun about a D&D movie being made in general, is that you can essentially make a fantastic fantasy film, incorporate elements of Dungeons and Dragons to bring some spice to it, and you can just slam that title on there. And that's what it looks like it did, but it doesn't feel like they're using Dungeons and Dragons as a crutch. This doesn't feel like World War Z, for example, where it was this, slightly below average zombie movie that slapped World War Z on it just so that it could get butts and seats. God, the fact that it worked is just outright disgusting. But anyway, I'm watching this film and I'm going, this is definitely a Dungeons and Dragons movie. Just because not only is the cast made up of people. I don't know everybody. Like I don't know if Hugh Grant, for example, plays, but I do know that Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez do play. And if I remember right, I think Michelle Rodriguez was introduced to the game by Vin Diesel, probably on the set of one of the Fast and Furious movies. But don't quote me on that. I vaguely remember some kind of trivia like that, but I don't know if it's actually truthful. But it's so clear that these two, along with everyone else, but it's clear that these two are just blowing it out of the water. Like, the fact that Chris Pine is playing a bard is just so spot on. Like, the guy has so much charm to him. I mean, you watch, I know the, what do they call it? The Kelvin timeline for Star Trek. The J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies. I know there are people who have their qualms with those films. I'm not going to contest those. I do agree those films have problems. I'm sorry, I'm just adjusting myself. But I'm not a diehard Star Trek fan, so I'm not going to go, "Oh, that's ridiculous. What blasphemy." I see the movies more as the story and whatnot. The stories and whatnot have some issues, but honestly, Chris Pine's take on Kirk has never been a criticism of mine. I've always thought he was really good in the role. I'm unfortunate. It's sad for me to say I haven't seen him in a lot of stuff. I saw him, or I heard. I guess you could say I heard his voice when he voiced Jack Frost in Rise of the Guardians, and I mean, if I'm just gonna quickly look over at his IMDb page real quick just to see. Okay, yeah, I remember him in Wonder Woman. Yeah, he was. I forgot he was in that movie. It's not that he's forgettable. I'm not gonna say that. It's more along the lines of I typically forget about DCEU movies because Wonder Woman's third act was so horrendously awful that I think I just kind of blocked out the whole movie as a result, and I never saw 1984, and I refused to do so because that movie looked like garbage just from the trailer alone. But what I will say, though, is, yeah, I've seen him sporadically in some things, and I've always liked him whenever I actually saw him. Oh, I didn't know he played Peter Parker in Into the Spider-Verse. Huh. Cool. Anyway, enough browsing IMDb. But yeah, I've never been a detractor of his. I've always looked forward to seeing stuff he is in because like I said, he always just has this natural charisma. Like I could see this guy kicking back with Scanlan Shorthold from Critical Role, just having a drink. That's just how cool it is. And Just the fact that they're both bards just makes it even funnier. Um, and that's something too. You can definitely tell that I would say Critical Role and at least The Legend of Vox Machina, or both, definitely had an impact on this movie being made because, like I said, Dungeons and Dragons is a lot bigger than it was in 2000. Now it's been 22 years. Different celebrities have endorsed it, and now it's essentially, and thanks to no small part to Stranger Things, who actually, oh yeah, that's right. I'm surprised there's not a lot of people from Stranger Things in this. Huh. I mean, I know Sophia Lillis, who plays the druid. I know she was in It, but I don't know if, or It and It Chapter 2, but I don't know if she actually plays. But I'm not going to go delving into that. That's a rabbit hole I don't wish to, delve into. But, yeah, so it's very obvious that this has definitely taken on the idea that the trend of Dungeons and Dragons has really taken off, and this movie is coming out at like the perfect timing. Like I said, Dungeons and Dragons is at like possibly the peak of its popularity that it's probably ever seen. Like I can't remember a time where it was so, widespread. Like I know some people might remember the old cartoon from back in the days, but unfortunately, I wasn't really privy to that era. Like I said, the vague things I heard about D&D and then the movie was my child introduction to the whole franchise. But the thing that I thought was really like perfect about this is that not only are they really driving home the fact that this is a Dungeons and Dragons movie, but they're doing it in a way that is appeasing to both fans and newcomers. Like, you don't need to be a diehard, dice goblin to squee at the sight of the Displacer Beast, because that thing's design just looks so damn cool. Seeing the Black Dragon strafe a battlefield, leaving a trail of acid behind it. For the fans, seeing that it has the horns, it has, like, its design is so picturesque, like pulled straight out of the bestiary. You have the fans going freaking nuts over it, and then you have the audience going, wow, that actually looks really damn cool. And it's just oh god, let me just get it out of my system real quick. This movie is just nailing everything. Like this, it's hitting all the right beats on things. Like, you got the greenskins, you have like the fact that there is a tiefling druid in the party. Again, it's just a show that the people who made these movies, or is making this movie, hopefully is more, like I really hope so. They know why this game is so popular, and they are just gonna make sure that everyone knows, like, yeah, there's gonna be some, yeah, we're doing this just for the money, but at least we're going to, not be so blatant, like, this is a cash grab, but we're not going to make it a blatant cash grab. We're going to make sure that when you buy that ticket, you're going to have a good time. At least that's my initial impression. Like I said, if it comes out and it's not great, I think at the very least, I can sit down with Batty and we can just watch it and have a great time. It's the same thing of when we went to go see King Arthur: Legend of the Sword. People hated that movie. Like, I think that movie might get a little bit too much negativity, because I thought, for what it was worth, it was actually pretty damn good. I hear some of the criticism saying that you tried too hard to start a cinematic universe. And I'm like, I mean, maybe during the ending scene when they're setting up the round table, but I thought that was more of, it was King Arthur becoming King Arthur. It wasn't, it wasn't as egregiously bad as, God, what's the name? The name of the organization from the Mummy remake, the one with Tom Cruise, where Dr. Jekyll and all them are trying to hunt monsters. That was essentially, we're going to pause the movie and set up this cinematic universe. I never felt that way with King Arthur, and I'm getting sidetracked. But what I'm trying to say is, at the very least, this movie is going to be, it's going to be at least a guilty pleasure. At worst, it's going to be a guilty pleasure. Because that was another thing. Another D&D inspired film, the last Witch Hunter with Vin Diesel. That was another movie that was critically panned, but Batty and I, we can throw it on the TV and we have a great time with it. There's really nothing that we particularly hate about the movie. And the fact that Vin Diesel was essentially playing a character that he normally plays when when he's actually being a player character in a D&D game. Sorry. Oh, excuse me. It's obvious that he was having fun with it. This was a passion project of his, and so we think that with this film, at its worst, it's still going to be a hell of a lot of fun. At its best, I hope that it opens the doors for a whole lot of different fans of the game to, like, it opens the doors for fans of the game to finally be able to say, look, this is here's a piece of cinema that is ours. This, for once, we don't have to keep clinging to the Gamers 2 Darkness Rising as, the definitively perfect Dungeons and Dragons movie. Yes, I said it. Yes, I said it. It's such a shame that Paizo has the sole distribution rights to that. Like, not saying Paizo's bad, but I've been trying to get my hands on Gamers Darkness Rising for years now, and I don't know. I kind of wish their window of purchasing was a little bit easier, but anyway. So, Honor Among Thieves does carry with it, as I said, we're thieves, so there's definitely going to be, at the very least, everyone's going to have some dabbling of neutral, alignment-wise. Although I am very interested to see where the Paladin fits in there, because, that's just... Okay, you have a Barbarian, a Bard, a Sorcerer, a Tiefling Druid, and a Rogue, and one Paladin. Like, if they don't go all out with the Paladin jokes, or at least the interactions there, like something akin to like Gimli reacting to Legolas and vice versa, that's gonna be a missed opportunity. They didn't really delve into that. Maybe they will in future trailers, but at this point, it's just more of I look at what they have going on, what they've shown, and I'm just thinking, the sky's the limit here. Like, I am excited for it. Yes, those studio executives, damn you Paramount Pictures, you will be getting my money. But hey, at least I'll have a good time, And I'm imagining just, hordes of fans filling the theaters, and everyone's gonna be dressed as their D&D characters. Probably not, but you're gonna have those theaters. Yeah, it's like this one time, Batty and I went to go see Fruits Basket Prelude. I think that's what it's called, Prelude. When it came out in theaters, I was playing at this one theater that was actually like 5 to 10 minutes, like a drive away from us. So, yeah, I remember we saw the trailer and I bought the tickets within the same hour. And the thing that she and I were both really worried about is that we were going to get the die-hard fans, like the teenage girls who flood in to see every Marvel movie that has Thor in it, just so they can screech on top of their lungs every time he's out. Oh my God, it's Thor! Thankfully, no. The Fruits Basket fandom was very polite, and this was including a girl who was literally tattooed foot to face in just Fruits Basket tattoos, and I'm just going, oh my God. Is it every time Kyo's on screen she's gonna go, screech? God, any of you who don't know what Fruits Basket is, you guys are just going, what the hell is this guy talking about? But that's what I mean, though. Like, it'd be cool to have a theater like that, but you never know. D&D fans are a very strange bunch. Sometimes they're extremely extroverted, and sometimes they might just wait for it to start streaming somewhere. Yeah, it looks like it's not going to be streaming anywhere. At least, it looks like it's going to be a purely theatrical film. So, yeah, that's going to be kind of fun. Now it's just a question of how much further are they going to go with this? Because they can do like basically whatever they want. I mean, I really hope they do at least nods to like Gary Gygax and stuff. I mean, it would be funny if they did like a punch or threw a punch or two at the 2000 film. I mean, granted, I think it might be better if they just forgot that movie existed, but it is what it is. Um, but like maybe they might have references to Critical Role. I mean, it looked like they had Goliaths in the movie. If they were Goliaths, they did look a little small, but that's beside the point. It's just I'm excited. I really am. Like this is one of those few films that I actually am just super hyped for. Like I'm saying this right now. This is a day one, premiere. We are going to be there. Because Batty and I, we just love Dungeons and Dragons so much. It's become a major part of just our lives. It's one of our favorite hobbies. Tomorrow is game night. We're going to be playing Misfits of Dawnwood, and that's something that we always look forward to. We have just so many adventures and so many memories of just these amazing stories that we have told, and being able to see a Dungeons and Dragons movie that in just one trailer, at the very least, it looks like it understands what it is. It's taken the property and it's thrown in, creature designs, settings, characters that wouldn't be found, that would only be found inside a D&D campaign. I'm sorry, it's actually a little warm where I'm recording, so if I'm a little, that's why. Right now it's like 90 plus degrees out, so, ugh. But hey, that's what you get when you move to North Carolina. Very different from where we were over in Cali. That's for damn sure. But anyways, so what do you guys think? I know that a lot of you who listen to this, obviously, you're here because it's a D&D podcast. So I'm actually very interested to hear what your thoughts on it are. Are you excited for it? Are you being cautiously optimistic? Are you going to wait for it to stream someplace? I genuinely want to know. It's kind of hard for me to really understand what you're saying because, obviously I'm talking to a microphone right now. But with all that said and done, I also want to take a brief moment here to just kind of talk about some updates going on the channel. Sorry if you hear some bangs and stuff. We have neighbors upstairs. So obviously, Path of Dragons, it's still churning along. We've been actually having some production issues. Darklands episode 17 is, in the making right now. I did a casting call for a second commercial segment for that. So anyone who is interested, you guys can pop over to Twitter. That's where my casting call can be found. Or if you share a Discord server with me, you could probably find it on one of those channels. Otherwise, so yeah, we're having some issues with episode 17, but it's Misfits episode 3 that I wanted to talk about because we released episodes 1 and 2 almost I think number 2 probably came out roughly like half a year ago maybe. And the series isn't dead. I'll say that right now. It's not dead at all. We actually have a lot of plans coming up for the series. It's more of Batty ran into some issues with her Photoshop. I don't know exactly the whole situation, but basically Adobe, or I think it was Adobe, just like smacked down and just cut her off. She had a certain account that Photoshop for some reason now just doesn't recognize anymore, even though she was paying for it. So unfortunately, she's thinking that she probably will just have to buy the actual program and not just this monthly payment thing that she had going. And sadly, this means that she may also have to get a new computer, so we're going to be saving up for that. Not that she's not doing any editing and whatnot. Basically, it's just we have the recordings, we have the dialogue, everything is good to go. It's literally just we're waiting for the panels to get finished. And because she's having to use alternate means of editing and, doing her artwork, it's going very slowly, but she is trying. So I know this might sound a little, not great coming from me because, like I said, the last episode came out, a while ago. But please do try and have some patience. Um, on the other hand, though, we are also going to be. I'm actually going to be starting to write a series of like short sketches, probably like between, 1 to 3 minute, segments called Misfits One Shots, where essentially they're just these little sketches of the characters interacting, and just all kinds of wacky little situations. I'll be tapping my voice actors to see who might be in on that, although I don't think that will be too difficult because I have an amazing cast and my voice actors are all incredible. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. Uh, as for Starship Phil, um, Starship Phil Episode 2 is currently in pre production. Not that I haven't worked on it, it's just right now I've been prioritizing Darklands and Misfits. I released Darklanders 101, about the episode about the Neo Americans. That kind of gives you a clue as to the kind of elements that we'll be introducing in, episode 17 onwards. And it's that's kind of where we're going at right now. We have some other projects kind of, floating out in the ether. For example, Balcasaurus has talked about. I'm not gonna go too deep in the details here, but there are talks going on between Balcasaurus and I about doing a collaboration that would involve us adapting a piece of H.P. Lovecraft into a radio play. But I'm not going to go into too many details from there. I want that to be a surprise if it does get off the ground. Which it just might be, because there's few things in this world that Balcasaurus absolutely loves, and yeah, H.P. Lovecraft and his work is definitely one of them. Not the sketchier side of Mr. Lovecraft, but his works and his mythos and whatnot. Anyways, so that's kind of where Path of Dragons is right now. We are feeling optimistic. We've been having some issues, but you know what? Given that my subscriber count hasn't really declined at all, I'm guessing you guys are all being absolutely fantastic as per usual. And you're keeping it there, making sure that we have your energy. We're collecting the energy for the spirit bomb so we can just blow everyone away with our content. It's just going to be a slow process, but it is getting done. I can assure you of that. Anyways, I hope you all had a great time listening to my sultry voice talk about all things D&D related. And I hope you all have an amazing day. Each and every one of you definitely deserves it. And you'll be hearing from me pretty soon. I'll see you all later, everybody.